Hi, Kenny.
Hey, neighbor.
Any leak?
Freezing. I don't know. Is it cold in your house? Is it in my house?
I put the fireplace on and the heat. It's crazy. Yeah, I went.
I don't know.
To
The
shul
study is particularly cold. I don't know what's up.
I went to shul tonight. It was so windy. It was nuts.
Yeah, I've been going to Chabad every day across the street, unfortunately.
Where's your gartel? If you need one, I have a black knit tie. It works.
Yeah, an old tie.
It's very convenient. You ever daven chakras there?
I have yet to do that.
No, me either.
I'm really just. I gotta go to shul. I gotta go to proper shul at least once a day. So.
It's a great religion.
He said over a great story this time. He's very interesting. We've been on Hilchos Kriyas Torah.
Yeah.
He said over a story in the name of the Rogachover that some bacher came to him for smicha.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rogachover started asking him shailas in Hilchos Kriyas Torah. And the guy was like, smicha, Basar B'chalav, Tarfas, I have no idea. And the Rogachover said, listen, all those areas are important, but, Lamaisa, you can say, wait, and then look up the answer and figure it out, and come back in an hour.
Right, Mario?
I am. I've had calls all day.
I know I'm going.
There's nothing you can do when it's raining.
They'll be busy tomorrow or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
They said it's going to rain 4.5 inches, 5 inches. I mean, the infrastructure can't take it. When it rains hard in the desert, Harold, probably worse, right? You're muted, Harold. I can't hear.
Yeah, when it starts to rain there, you gotta get out of the way because it takes trees with it. Last year they had terrible flooding because
you have an off stream off your house, which is
I have a channel there where it goes off the property.
We're on Sadi Kamad Aleph 90. Hegdish Chometz v'Shichur. We've had this before. Mafkin midei shibud. If a person made his ox collateral to his creditor, and he is magdish the ox for kedushas aguf, not kedushas domim, then the malva can't. Then if the guy doesn't have any money and he tries to collect a piece of collateral that was given to Hegdish, there's no shibud anymore. Same thing with chametz. That means goy sheilves Yisrael chemtzo. It means if chametz was used as the collateral and it's chametz shover lava pesach, the fact that now it became asur bano, there's no shibud on it anymore, and the goy cannot collect from that piece of collateral. And an eved kanani that is freed. If the eved was a piece of collateral for a loan, the act of shichur takes the shibud away. We said that with that because we said avdei malug yotzin b'shein v'ayin leisha, that if the woman came in with avodim, she goes out with if you knock his eye out, the wife knocks his eye out, it's mafkir the shibud. Lema rava tanoyi. Had a baraisa that says that the eved doesn't go out with shein v'ayin, so it's a machlokes tanoim. Lo, kulama islu derav. Everyone holds of this principle of hektish chametz for shichrur is mafkin midei shibud. So, hacha amur abanon shibud de baal. according to if different Baraisa, it says the husband can still collect because Chazal increased the shibud on behalf of the Baal more than other shibudim. That the shichrur by the wife would not break the shibud that the husband has on the nichsei maluk. Viboy same if you want kulam less lulani tanoi. Takonis usha. That really the tanoim of both baraisas do not hold of takonis usha. Hacha b'kinyan peres k'kinyan guftami. It's a different machlokas. Whether or not, if you have a kinyan peiros, that if you're allowed to eat peiros, it's considered like a primary kinyan in the field itself. And it follows the following machlokas tanoim, the Tanya. Amoicher avdo la'acher. If a person sells his eviknani to another person, uposak imo amenashim shemenu shloshim yom. You just made a condition that you could still use the evet for 30 days. Rameir oimer rishon, right? The seller yesh no bedin yom yomayim. There is a din of yom yomayim that if a person owns an evet and you struck him, he died. It's only if he dies within the first 2 days, then you'd be chayiv misa. But if it's beyond those 2 days, he's not chayiv misa. So the seller who owned the eved, he would have this din of yom yomayim. He's viewed as the owner. Neshu taktov. Since he made a condition that the eved should stay with him for 30 days, it's whose rishus is the eved in that governs whether the din yom yomayim attaches. And why? Because ksaver kinyan peiros, which is basically the right to use the eved, is kinyan aguftami. It's viewed as he's the owner. Rav Yudah Omer Sheni yesh no b'din yom yomayim. The guy who bought it, he has the kula of yom yomayim. For other people, if you strike somebody and he dies a week later, you're chayv misa. It's only by an eved that there's a limitation of yom yomayim. So this kula belongs to the guy who bought it. Mibneshu kaspo. He bought it, so it's his asset. So even though he doesn't have usage of the eved yet, ksaver kinyan perislav kinyan aduftim, just because the seller retained 30 days of use, that's not a kinyan haguf of the eved. And therefore the kul of yom yomayim is held by the buyer, not by the seller.
But tell me, if the seller hurt him,
The what?
if the seller hurts
Yes.
and is in his house, why should the buyer be responsible?
No. The guy who's, so what happens is like this. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the seller strikes the eved, and the guy dies 5 days later, he's going to be put to death as a murderer. He doesn't get the leniency that only if he dies in the first 1 or 2 days that you put him to death. And it's the buyer who somehow came over to the property and struck him and died. He's put to death if the guy dies within 1 or 2 days. But if he dies 5 days later, he would not be put to death. Okay. So who gets that kula? The seller or the buyer? So it depends on how you hold kinyan apeiros. Kinyan apeiros is like use. If you hold kinyan apeiros as keguftami, then the one who has use of it gets the kula.
If a person kills an Eved Kanani, isn't that he pays a kofer or he pays nezek to the owner? Doesn't get killed. It's only when you kill a Jew.
Rashi says, "Im hikal b'soch shloshim yom alolu, v'lo meis tachas yado, elo omad yomu yomayim chai, eino nerag. Avol sheni, im hikal b'soch shloshim yom alolu, shaya b'veis rishon, eino b'din yom yomayim, v'nerag alav afilu meis v'choli zel l'sof sholosh shonim." So you can't, you want to say that you have an Evet Kanani, if you kill him.
Isn't it? It's like you're ashore.
No,
You're
if you kill a boy,
you hurt
That's
someone else's shore. You damage your shore, damages someone else's shore. Or you damage the shore. You pay nezek.
that's
Same
by
thing
goy.
nezek.
That's
I'm
a
wrong.
goy, but not an Evet Kanani. An Evet Kanani is nerag if you kill him.
Why? Because he has shomer mitzvahs or whatever. He has to.
Yes,
Okay.
he's showing your
Thank you.
mitzvahs like Anisha.
Right.
So steht the Rambam. And so steht the Gemara. I agree with you regarding a non-Jew. Now, you kill a non-Jew and you're taken into custody by the Malchus, they're going to kill you. I'm talking about Bezdin killing you.
Right.
Okay. Rabbi Yossi Omer Shneim Yeshna B'din Yom Yomai. They both get it. They both get the kula. Zeh, the seller, Neshu Taktav. The seller still has the evidence in his rishus. V'zeh Neshu Kaspo. The buyer, it's his asset. So they both get the kula. Why? Because Mesapkele, whether Kinyan Paris, Kikinya Guftami, Ilav Kikinya Guftami, it's a Kon Rabbi Yossi, it's a suffix. And suffix nefashos lahakim. Since this is leading to capital punishment, we have a din regarding capital punishment. If there's a suffix involved, we go lakula. That's the sheet of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yezer Oimer, Shneim Einam B'din Yom Yomayim. They don't get the kula. They're like all other people, and even if he dies after 10 days, he's going to be chayv misa. Why? Zeh, the buyer, lefisheno tachta. V'zeh lefisheno kaspo. And he's not mesupik. He has no suffix. He's sure. Amar of a might type of Rabbi Yezer. Amar kroki kaspohu. Kaspam yuchad lo. It's got to be his asset that is uniquely his asset, and not when somebody else has a schus somehow in it. So, according to Rabbi Yezer, it's Gzeres HaKosov, not Svara. Kiman Azla Hasha Amar HaMeimar. So, based on this four-way machloikas, the Gemara wants to know, who is this din of HaMeimar going like? Ish v'isha. Shemachru b'nichse maluk. Right? The woman comes into the marriage with property. And either the husband or the wife sells, lo asav lo klum. There's no sale. Come on, Rabbi Yezer. Because it's not considered kaspam yuchad lo, not for the woman and not for the husband. Then, man tan al-hadaton rabbanu. Who is the following like? Misha chetzio eved v'chetzio ben chorin. Let's say there was an eved owned by two partners.
But why doesn't it work? It's their asu. They're doing it ish v'isha shemachru. They're doing it together. So
No.
what one lacks, the other makes up for.
That's not the case. Ish v'isha means each one does it independently. And even if they did it together, Rashi says, because each one doesn't have unique ownership in it. So even if they come together and decide to do it, it still doesn't work. And so who is the Misha Chetzio, a eved that was owned by two partners, and one partner freed him. So he's a half and half. He's half free, half Evet. Or Evet shel shnei shutafim. Ein yotzin, b'rosh evorim, she'en chozrin. If you knock out their eye or tooth, they don't go free. Because neither one has kaspo amyuchad lo. That would also be like Rabbi Eliezer. Amar Rav Mordechai, Rav Ashi Hachi Amar Mishmeid Rabbi Eliezer, Ke Rabbi Eliezer. Milo Amar Rabbi Eliezer kaspo amyuchad lo. Chanami avdo, because it says v'chiyakeh ish es ein avdo. L'chavshi yishlachenu tachas eino. So avdo is hamyuchad lo. It's got to be an eved that's completely owned by one person. He doesn't share ownership in it.
An Evet can be lachatzaim. I mean, I don't understand. It's not like
I just explained how.
yeah, but it's very difficult to understand. I know you explained. It's
So yes, he can be lachatzoin. So therefore, there's a machlokes Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. If you remember, and Beis Hillel is moed to Beis Shammai.
Yeah.
The owner who owns him is forced to free him because he can't be in this situation of limbo, like Walter's fathered, because he can't marry anybody. So you force the owner to sell him, to free him.
Yeah. But so there should be the same thing with damages over here. Also, I mean, it should be the same way. Somebody has to take responsibility. In other words, you can't have both of them being
Doesn't go out. No, we're talking about going out b'shein v'ayin.
right. But I'm saying
you have to pay. You have to pay for his shame. You have to pay for the.
Somebody's responsible, but somebody's responsible.
Somebody is
people, but it can't be two people are responsible.
It can be. You can have an Evid owned by two people.
No, but just like it can't be, it's very.
Monday he works. A Monday he works for Reuven. Tuesday he works for Shimon. And if one freed him, and the other, so on Monday he works for Reuven, and on Tuesday he works for himself. That's how either an Eved of Shnei Shutafim or a Chatzi Eved functions. But he won't function long because the halacha is the master is, you're allowed to work with Shnei Shutafim. That way he remains an Eved. And you will have responsibility if you damaged him to pay him the value of his eye. It's not that they're escaping responsibility. It's only they don't go out free because that's Xeris HaKosu. It says Avdo. Avdo amiyuchid lo. We have many exceptions by Shutafim. Shutafim who own a Bechor, they don't pay. They don't have to bring him up as a Bechor because the pasuk it has to be a single ownership. Mishnah. Atoikel chavero. Person boxes a person's ear. Another holds that Imamish blew a trumpet into his ear. And Rashi gives you both pshatim. You damaged him. But beyond damage, Noisan Lasella, you embarrassed him. There's a knas, one sella for the boishes. Rav Yudah Omer Mishum Rav Yosek Lili, mana. You pay him 100 dinar. Then sotro, you slapped him on the face. Well, that's with an open palm. Nois and loy mosayim says you pay $200. La achar yad, you slapped him with this, boom. So that's like when they court-martialed Alfred Dreyfus. That's the biggest embarrassment. Nois lo arba me'azuz. That's the highest amount you can be forced to pay for boishes. Tsarim ba'azno. You made a wound in his ear.
Pulled his ear.
Like Tolash Basar, you pulled his hair out. Rokok, Vigiabo, Roko, you spit in his face. Ohever talisa mimenu, you pulled his talis off. Oh, para rosha isha bashuk, you pulled off the shaitel of a woman in the market. So these are also examples of extreme boishes. Noislo arba me'azu. Ze haklal, hakol lefi chvoidoi. So we don't know. Does that mean is that a kula or a chumrah? The Gemara will explain. Rabbi Kiva filo anim should be Israel. Poor people are seen as wealthy people who've lost their money. So you would treat them on a higher level regarding boishes. Shehem b'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. We get that because of our genetics. Somebody pulled off a woman's shaitel publicly. Boss of Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva paskin that the guy has to pay arba me'azuz. Amar Rebbe Tenli Zman, give me time to pay it off. V'nasan lo zman, and gave him. Shmara oimeres al pesach hatzeva. He did a surveillance. He went to watch the woman's house. B'shiber sakad b'fanea, and he caused a jug of oil to break. Uvo Isra Shem, there was a lot of money, value of oil in the jug. She on her own, to save the oil, Gilsa Esrosha took off her shaitel. She lapped up all the oil, put it in her hair in order to save it so it wouldn't go to loss. Later on, she would squeeze it out. But what does it show? It shows that she's willing to go without her shaitel. So he wanted to save himself the 400 zuz. This guy had set up 2 Eidim to watch. He brought the Eidim to Rabbi Kiva. To someone like this, you're forcing me to pay Arba Me'al Zuz? Your taina has no worth. Why? If a person wounds himself, he's not allowed to do that, potter. But if somebody else came around and hit him, they'd be chayiv to pay. So this is the same thing. She did it to herself, but if another person does it, you're still chayiv. You're not allowed to cut fruit trees down because it's bal tashchis. But if he did it to himself, you're potter. Acherim chayovim. So similarly, regarding boishes, if she's willing to embarrass herself, that doesn't change the fact that if others do it, they be chayiv to pay. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Iboilu monat soyritnan or monat medinatnan. When we say me'azuz, which is 25 sela, is this sela shel Medina, which is like a city currency, which is 1/8 value, not full value. Or monatsuri, or it's full value. Toshma, ahu gavre to tokala lechavre. Person boxed his ear. Also, come in Rav Yudan to see Omerle. Oh no, Rav Yosef Lili. Havle monatsuri. Pay him the full mana. Shmami no monatsuri tonight. Shmami no. Okay. My What does that mean? Hi, ano Rabbi. I'm like Rabbi Yossi Glili. Ilem hachi komerle. Hi, ano de chazise. I saw you do this. Rabbi Yossi Glili shomer manatsuri, and zilavle manatsuri, and I'm making you pay the full money. So it looks like the judge also served as the aide. Lememra, the aide nasa dayan. Can the aide become the dayan? Vatanya, Sanhedrin shiro echad shaharaga sanef. You have 70 people in the Sanhedrin, and a murder is committed in front of them. So miktsasam nasu eidim. So they separate two of the Sanhedrin, they become the eidim. Umiksasu nasu dayonim, and then they adjudicate what the two eidim saw. Div Rav Tarfa. Rav Tarfa holds that the eidim and the dayonim have to be separate. Rabbi Kiva Omer Kulam Eidimein. They were all witnesses, and none of them can serve as a dayan. They ain't aid nasa dayan. And Ad Kan had come Rav Tarfon. Rav Tarfon permitted by a murder. Ela shemiktasu nasu eidim tasu nasu dayanim, because some could serve as the eidim physically, and some not. But he agreed that if there was just one singular aid there, aval eid nasa dayan, without any other eidim, he agrees with Rabbi Akiva. Lo kama. Kitanyayi, what Kigon, Shiro Balayla. The case of the Sanhedrin, seeing the murder, they saw it at night. And Bezdin doesn't rule at night. Shalolo mevedinaninu. You only do din and nefashos in the daytime. So they couldn't serve as dayonim at that time, only as eidim. And that's why that case is different. B-boy Sema, that Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya was not the aid there. That when he says Arei Ani, Hachi Kamerle, Ho another severe like Rabbi Yossi. I hold up Rabbi Yossi clearly that the mana that has to be paid is mana tsuri. V'hasadi the Misadi, and the aidim are different. B'cha zilavle mana tsuri. There's no riot from there on this issue of aid nasadayim. The halacha is an aid cannot serve as a dayan, whether it's din and fashas, whether it's din and ominous. But if it's rabbinic dinim, an aid can serve as a dayan. That's how the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch paskin. Freak the Gemara, the Sarah Akiva, the aid nasa dayan. Does Rabbi Kiva hold like that? I'll show you not. It says v'hika ish esrei eyu be'evan o be'egrov. Reuven struck Shimon with a stone or his fist. Shimon atemoni omer ma egrov miyuchid. Mosr le'edo le'edim. They can assess, both the Eidim and the Sanhedrin can make an assessment how hard was the guy struck with the fist. I've called Moshe Eidim. So any implement that you used to strike your friend has to be something that they can do an estimation of how injurious it was. Prat l'shiyatz mitachas yad ha'edim. If the edim don't see the implement anymore, and Beis Din didn't see it, So they lost the weapon. So if either the Eidim or Bezdin have no opportunity to assess, then there's a patur. So Amr Rabbi Kiva, B'nei Bezdin Yikau, Sheyoyin Kama Yikau V'Ama Yikau, Im Al Shoykoi or Tzipur Nafsho, if he struck him on the thigh or on his neck, that means when somebody commits some kind of act of violence, it's not done in front of Bezdin that they know. It's the Eidim who know. V'od, Reisha Dochav's Chaver Merosha Gag Merosha Bira. Reuven pushes Shimon off a roof. Umeis. Does Bezdin holchen etzel Bira? Or Bira lechas etzel Bezdin? Is the Bezdin forced to go to that roof to see whether the height of the roof was high enough in order to kill somebody? We rely on the Eidim. And then, Im Nafla, if that house that he got pushed off of collapsed, and then Choyzer Uboyna, then it was rebuilt. So how is Bezdin going to assess whether the original roof that the guy was pushed off on was a killing roof? So the limud that they tried to do, says Rabbi Kiva, is not correct. Ella, rather, how do you darshan when it says v'hika ish Yisrael be'evno be'egrov? A different limud. Ma egrov miyuchad shu masur la'edim. As long as the edim can assess it, doesn't need edim and bezdin. Av kol shu masur la'edim. So even if the stone that was originally used is not here anymore, if the edim testified that they say the stone was 1 by 2 feet, then we know that it was a stone that is fit to kill, and that's enough for the dayan, and they can paskin based on that. But there is a miyut. So what is it coming? The pasuk, it is coming to exclude something. Prat l'chshiyotza even mitachas yoda shlamaket. That if the Eidim didn't see the stone and the weapon disappeared completely, then potter. Because the Eidim cannot testify fully about how the guy was killed and how big the Evan was in order to be mazik. Now, why did we just bring this? Ktani mias, that Amar la Rabbi Kiva to Shimon HaTemani, v'chi bifnei bezdin ikaw, right? What did Rabbi Akiva say? Did this act of violence occur in front of Bezdin? Sheyodim kama ikaw, implying that that Bezdin could adjudicate. Ha im ikaw bifneim aid not sedayin. So how can you tell me in the name of Rabbi Akiva that an aid cannot be the dayan? So the Gemara answers, L'dvar shel Shimon HaTemani ka'amar. I am making my argument according to your shita, but the lay lo svirale, but Rabbi Akiva himself didn't hold that. You hold that an aid can become a dayan. So I'm asking you this kasha based on that. I don't hold bichlal that an aid become a dayan. So it was not a kasha on the statement of Rabbi Akiva that we made prior. Ton Rabbana. Short tam shehemis. We know if you have an ox that has never gored before and it killed, and then vihizik, and then it did damage, done also did in the nefashos, even though there's 2 adjudications to do. For the damage payment and for the fact that he put a human being to death. We adjudicate the shore for a capital crime and we kill him. But ain't done it also dine mamanos. But he gets off for the money payment. But mu'achem is fizik, a shore that had done it already 3 times, killed and did damage. Donin also did a mamanus. First, you adjudicate the money case and he pays it. The chazar of Donin also did a foshos. Then the cow is adjudicated for dinner foshos, will be killed. But kadmu v'danu dinner foshos. If Bezin went ahead and adjudicated the capital crime first, and chazar v'danu, so then he gets free, because the animal is going to have to be killed with skila. Now, the fact that Bezdin went ahead and adjudicated it at the same time, went ahead and did it first, who cares? Let of L'darinami, the Mamonite. These are events that occurred separately. Why shouldn't he be adjudicated both? Amr Rav Ashkil Rabbanon Bei Rav, the Yasri V'Ka Amri, Hamani Rav Shimon Teimani. This Baraisa is Lefi Rav Shimon Teimani. Sha'amar, Ma Egrov, Miyuchad Shemasr Le'edo Le'edim, that both Edim and Bezdin can assess the weapon that was used. So Alma Ba'inen Umdana de Beidina. Bezdin itself needs to be involved, not just the Edim, in order to be Mechayev him. Vaha, a shore that kills, given the Gomar Dina Liktala, since the shore has been adjudicated to be put to death, Lo Mashina Leila Umdana de Beidina. We don't delay and let Bezdin assess the value of what was damaged, because lo manina ladina, we don't delay when somebody is adjudicated to be killed, even an animal. We don't put that off. You do it right away. And we'll continue this tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll learn 7:30.